Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Christian Brindle. Welcome back to the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business to a seven-figure income. I'm joined with a phenomenal guest here today, and I'm super excited to be able to have an awesome conversation with him. He's somebody I've gotten to know over the past year or so, and he's just an awesome dude. Has built a really terrific agency in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm joined with Mr. Brian Glidden. First off, Brian, how are you doing today?
Good morning. Thank you, Christian. I'm doing pretty good. I'm finally, I still have the voice is still bothering me. I'm just getting over all the sickness over the last week, but
Yeah.
we woke up to 5 or 6 inches of unexpected snow today, but doing really well. Thank you.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, we had it yesterday morning, the snow, so it probably, moved over from us and moved over to you guys. It's always fun. You get it, close to March. I wanted to kind of start off, Brian, with, for anybody that might not know who you are. I know, you don't do a lot of these kind of interviews, and your kind of style has been to kind of, stay under the radar and kind of, grow your business and focus on that, which is the way I think everybody should be. Um, Talk a little bit about how you got into the space. For anybody that might not know Brian Glidden, how did you get into the insurance space? Where did everything begin for you?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny, it's a it's a pretty good story. So I'm originally from Northern Illinois. I'm a third generation heating contractor guy. My family was deeply rooted into the sheet metal industry in the Union in the Chicago suburbs. And I moved to Idaho in 2014. And so I transferred my trade over from the Chicago suburbs to Spokane, Washington. So that was a pretty scary
Hmm.
transition, but I wanted a better life for my family and my kids, a North Idaho dream. And so I was laid off one winter in the January and February, and in the construction industry, you never know how that's going to go. Are you going to be off for 6 days or 6 weeks? What's going to happen? And so I was taking my kids to the bus stop, and I was sitting there just chit chatting with one of the other guys in the neighborhood, and he was in his fancy Suburban in his new house, and he was making small talk with me, and I was kind of in one ear and out the other. We were talking shop, and I was a little bit depressed because I was laid off from work. And he ended up saying that I should consider his insurance industry and I should come and talk to him. And I was kind of like, yeah, right, man. I've been standing on ladders my whole life and no clue. And so I went home and I talked to my wife. She says, "What do you have to lose? You're late. You're collecting unemployment. You're laid off. Go see what the guy has to say." So um, I went and started filing papers for this guy and listening to him talk about Medicare. And I'm looking at him and I'm looking at his client, and the client's eyes are glazed over. They have no idea what he's talking about. I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I could do this. This is crazy. And so he said, "Yeah, you'll get it. You'll get it." And but so long story short, I got licensed. I started working for this guy, and it didn't take me long during that time. I saw the potential in this industry, and I just love helping people, and I just wanted to build my own team. And so after doing that for 3 years, I was able to break off and go out on my own, and now I've been building my own team for the last 5 years. So it's been awesome.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think it's always so interesting to me, because nobody kind of sees themselves doing insurance, especially when they're younger. Like it's not, you never have the kid that's like, oh, I want to grow up to be an insurance agent. It's always a firefighter, a police officer, an astronaut. Like you never see that kid that's like, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be I'm going to sell insurance. I'm going to be an insurance agent. Um, so I think that there's so many of us in the space that end up getting into it and never kind of expected it, but then it ended up being such a blessing. Um, so you built a great um, agency in Idaho with Glidden Group. And one thing I've noticed about you is you have such a heart to serve, and that's what I love about you. Um, whether it be serving your clients or whether it be taking in agents and kind of showing them the way, right? And um, when you've brought in agents, what has usually been what is usually the things you try to get them to learn early on to try to help them be successful? Is there any kind of like um, blueprint or playbook that you run with an agent that you first bring in to teach them the business and kind of teach them to be able to kind of replicate kind of what you've been able to do as an agent?
I think one of the challenges that we face with most of our people and our teams and is just getting people to just really commit. Um, when I hired a coach, it was whatever you focus on, that's what's going to grow. If you're involved in all these other things in your life, you can only do so much. So you just really have to choose what you want to work on and focus on, and you really need to just hone in and really specialize on something. That's when I'm trying to train somebody new, it's if you really want this, you really got to get after it, and you need to be the master technician at your field. Whatever you do, you need to go all in and do it. Um, but for me, when I
Yeah.
bring on somebody, it's I think about where they came from, and it's I'm taking a chance. They're taking a chance on me, and I'm taking a chance on them, and we're going to work together to build something. My goal is I want to exceed their expectations. I'm hoping if they quit their job or if they start a new career and they're going to put all their trust in me that I'm going to help them, I want them to be successful. So that's, sometimes I question my business model. We have to be profitable, and I put so much energy into helping my team succeed that I haven't personally been as profitable as I would like to be, but I just stick with the plan. We just got to help. They're helping me grow this company too, so that's part of the learning curve I think that I'm going through.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, and I think it's normal. I think anytime you're growing an agency, it's almost like they don't make a playbook for this stuff, and it's one of those things that you you learn on the fly, you learn as you go, and it's great to have coaching and mentorship and that kind of thing that certainly helps. But at the same time, you have to figure out what's right for you, and that's kind of different for everybody. You can take advice and customize it to yourself, and yeah, so I think that's perfectly normal and very natural. But you've done, your guys' agency is on the pathway of doing big things, and it's been very successful. So I think you're doing something right in that regard. One thing I noticed, I got the chance to come out there and spend a little time with you guys before AEP last year. And one thing I noticed from the get-go is you have done a fantastic job branding your agency locally there in Coeur d'Alene. And that's not an easy feat. That's not an easy thing to do. Branding is, I think, one of the things that most agency owners struggle with the most. And I think you've done a tremendous job at it. So props to you for that. Um, what are some things that you have learned along the way about branding? Like, how important is a good brand for your business? But also, like, what are some things what are some things you've done along the way that's helped the brand become what it is today, do you think?
I think and I definitely don't have this figured out. This is an area that I've had to have help with, and it's constant learning there. But I think having something that's really neat and clean, you don't want to be messy, and you just need to be, it has to be the same every single time. If you're constantly switching things up, just think about the big name companies out there. You might have never even been in that store, but you know that brand because you see that same thing every time. So when we just want to keep it simple, you just get your brand out there to be recognized in the public. And I struggle with changing my brand now and how I want to position the shield and the name. But I think it's just consistency and keeping it neat and clean. I read, and I think I've heard you
Yeah.
talk about this
Yeah.
before, but um, there's the book, the E Myth, the E Myth Revisited talks about the brand, and that I would highly recommend anyone read that book.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great one for sure. Anybody that listening to this, if you haven't read that book, that's definitely one you need to read. It's a tremendous read, and it's great in so many ways for your business. Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think so many people want to do, just like different versions of their branding, and I think ultimately that ends up hurting what they're trying to do. Because you're right, I think good branding comes from familiarity. Like recognizing it, seeing it over and over again, seeing it everywhere. You guys have certainly done a good job with that, and ultimately what that ends up producing is you have a lot of inbound traffic. You guys have a lot of people calling in, finding you guys on Google, online, and things like that. And you have a lot of new business coming in the door because of the groundwork you've laid for branding. And so I think, props to you on that, because that's every agency's dream, right? To have business coming in the door that, you know, it just is consistently, you know, um, happening, and people are coming in, and it's just, people are being drawn to your business. So I think props to you for that, because that's a great thing for your business to build. Um, what would you say, Brian, like if there was a opportunity that you had where everything today, and but you could go back and give yourself some advice when you were starting off, when you were starting off building your agency, and starting off as independent, what are some pieces of advice you would give to Brian 5 or 6 years ago when you were first starting out?
Yeah, that's good. I wish that we could do that. So that's
Me too.
cute. So I think it's so important that you just accept that you can only do so much. Um, but when you're new and you're new to the industry, you're just so hungry to take every single little opportunity that comes to you, and you're chasing too many things. Um, I think if you could be well diversified and have an agency that does ACA, life insurance, group, Medicare, if you can build a team that you can be a full service agency to take care of everything and work with financial advisors and Social Security, all that stuff, just the more that you can do just makes you more valuable, a more trusted resource. But you have to just understand that this is a long-term commitment. You've got to become the expert, and you can only do that one bite at a time. You have to, pick a craft and polish it. If you're going to start off with Medicare, become an expert. If then you want to learn ACA, become an expert. If you want to get into small group, work with someone, get some help. But when you try to do all of it at once, you're going to flop. It's just when you sound like an idiot, they're going to find somebody else because you're trying to do too many things at once.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's tremendous advice, and I tell agents that work with us the same thing, and it's one of those things where, you can get pulled in so many different directions. Like what it makes me think about as I hear you talk is, so many times myself when I was an agent out in the field, I would go up against an agent, let's say, let's say talking to a client, they're talking to another agent, and that agent clearly does like six things. They're doing group, they're doing life, they're doing annuities, they're doing PNC, they're doing all this stuff. And Medicare is just a small token of, like, a small percentage of that. I could see it in the advice they were given, right? It wasn't as thorough, maybe they missed something, and I would always end up coming out on top, right, in that kind of scenario, because my knowledge base was so much deeper, and I caught things that the other agent might have missed, and that kind of thing. I think that's just great advice, because that old saying, right? Riches come in the niches. I think it applies, and I think it is a lot easier to be successful. Doesn't mean it's impossible. Like, if you can make it happen with a full service agency, I think it can work. But I think it is much, much, much more difficult to try to be super successful at everything instead of just trying to be great at one thing, or maybe like Medicare and ACA together, right? Because they go together or something like that. But I think that's great advice.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely think full service agency is what all of every agency owner, that should be the goal. I mean, we do have three PNC agents in our office and we are a full service agency, but it's just I don't want a jack of all trades, master of none crew. I want a team of people who are experts in their field. My agents are are niching off. Each person's doing something different. I
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yep.
there are some agency owners here in town with me that I get envious of. They're doing home and auto and ACA. They're doing it all, and I think, man, they've got to be just loaded. But I just how anybody could do all of that is beyond me. I'm not there.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes like, and I don't know the specific agencies that you're thinking of, but like it might be way more chaotic inside their doors than maybe it seems from the outside. Possible. So one question I wanted to ask you, Brian, I wanted to kind of shift gears a little bit into a different kind of conversation. And you've done a great job of building, in my opinion, a great culture in your office. One thing I noticed when I got there is I was like, this place is awesome. Like Sarah is awesome. The agents that you have there are awesome. And there is a very good culture. There's a very, together culture. What have you learned over the years about team building and kind of developing that strong culture that you guys have?
I would say that's just gonna be a faith background, just my Christ-centered biblical views, and I try to put people around me with my similar views. One blessing that I've had on my team is I've never put an ad out. I've never, tried to hire someone. People come to me and they want to be a part of the team, or, someone's referred to me, and it just organically has just happened. God has just brought the right people to me over the last few years. So I think my culture is just a faith-based group of people, and it's a good feeling, and we just want to love on people, and our team needs to do the same, to take care of people and take care of each other.
Yeah. I think that's very big, and I think it's everything, because your team needs to be able to work well together. And I think everybody needs to care about the business, but also care about each other in order to kind of accomplish that. We've tried to do a lot of the same things here, in terms of kind of creating that same kind of vibe and that same kind of culture. And I think it starts at the top. It starts with you as the leader, and I think it kind of, ends up kind of moving down to everybody else. So it's a reflection on you in a good way, and as kind of the leader of the business. What would you say, Brian, is some of the keys to, because one thing I think about is I think the industry is changing quite a bit, right? And the industry's probably quite a bit different today than when you first got started and when I first got started. For me, it's 10, 11 years. But even if you go back to when you first, started Glidden Group 5 or 6 years ago, the industry is quite a bit different, right? So there's more regulation, there's more technology platforms. What do you feel like is the key to somebody coming in, let's say they're brand new and really succeeding today?
You have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to, I'm not super tech savvy. I'm not a whiz on the computer. I mean, I feel like I'm growing and getting better, but it's easy for people to get so overwhelmed with all these apps and all this, everyone's got a tool. If you just get too scared, you're never going to make any progress. You you have to move forward with the times. You have to adapt, or you're just going to get left in the dust. All this AI talk right now. I'm not in on any of this AI stuff, but you've got to be able to bring on people where you struggle, just working with there's so many people in our space that are willing to help with these things that we need help with. That would be my recommendation, would be to get help. There's plenty of help. There's plenty of people in our space that that want to help. You can't just spread, Excel spreadsheets and old school stuff. It- You're never gonna, you have to be compliant. You have to have recordings. You have to have systems in place. Absolutely a must.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. 100%. I mean, I don't know if you ever read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, the older book. It's a classic business book, but it's one that had such a big impact on me early in my career. And it's all about that. It's about adapting and being willing to change. And it tells a story of a situation where someone was willing to change, someone wasn't willing to change, and it shows the differences in the circumstances. And yeah, I think, you know, that adaptability I think is helpful, not just in our business, I think in business in general. There's just so much that kind of goes into that. One thing, Brian, that I wanted I was kind of curious to ask you as well, that I think, you have a lot of good knowledge about, is you have you mentioned it a couple times, and that is, people wanting to work with you, whether it be, doing business with you as a client, but probably more so that, agents wanting to work with you, right? Agents wanting to come in and have you mentor them. You've told me several stories over the time we've gotten to know each other about people just showing up at your door sometimes, right? And wanting to be taken
Hmm.
under your wing, right? And have you kind of teach them and show
Yeah.
them the way. What where does that magnetism come from, right? Like, because there's people out there that, let's say, they're looking for a team member, or they're looking for an agent to work with, and again, you said it, you hit it right in the head. They'll have to put up job ads or their job listings or something like that, but you don't necessarily need to do that. Like, you have people that come out of the woodworks that want to work with Brian Glidden. What
Well,
do
I
you
wouldn't say
attribute
that,
that to?
but it's definitely not me. I really, that's good. I have to give that to the Lord, that just bringing the right people. And I mean, people say that I'm calm and easy to talk to. I don't know if that's part of it, but I don't get too wound up. And like you say, I like to be under the radar. Public speaking's not my thing. And maybe when you're looking for a coach or a partner, they must think I'm easy to talk to. I guess I don't I don't have a good answer for that one.
No, that's okay. That's all right. I mean, I'll give you what I think that it might be, just from my outside perspective. I think that, you know, you've built a successful business. Your business is successful. It's growing. It's on a trajectory, in my mind, to be a seven-figure agency in a short period of time. I think you're a very good person. I think you're a very good person. I think, you're honest, you're trustworthy, you do business the right way. And, I think you really have a heart to take care of people. And I think you have a heart to really help people accomplish their own success. And so my perspective is, I think it's probably that. And I think word gets around. Like, Brian's a good dude. You can trust Brian. Brian's somebody that, you know, will show you the way, in a sense.
Thank you. Well, you just have to, you can't do it all. So you have to build a team. I think we get sucked into this the scalability and the sky's the limit. I can make $1 million. I can be a 6, 7, multi 7 figure earner. But the truth is there's not very many people that are going to build a 10,000 client book of business by themselves. So I think you want to have a
Hmm.
good team. You got to have people around you. You have to build a team the right way. I could add a little bit of advice
Yep.
on that. I could expand. One thing that's been really scary for me has been, it's kind of this two steps forward. My company's definitely growing, but it's the profitability at the end of the day. How much money are we really taking home is another number. But and so what I going into that a little bit deeper is, you have to have that front office admin. You have to have that customer service at some point. And when are you going to hire that person? And if you feel like, I just don't
Yeah.
have enough money, I don't have enough money yet to hire that person, well, you're never really going to grow if you don't have the help to get you there. So I've been very scared to how am I going to afford this new customer service guy that I just brought on? But then once we bring them in and step out in faith and now we're ready for more customers, we can do a better job, and that's just going to get more word of mouth. And so it's this compounding effect where you have to just trust the process and you have to step out and get that first person to help you. And that's how it builds. The two steps forward and one step back kind of feeling is what we've had. And we're just constantly investing in the company. Is if we're more successful, we can expand our software, we can expand our tools, we can expand our marketing, we can expand from an admin to a customer service person or a customer success person. Um, my hope is to be my client's best advocate. So how am I going to do that is to educate them. So if I have someone on my team that's being proactive, people, they usually remember what company they signed up with, if they're with, Aetna, United, Blue Cross, but people hardly know what plan they're on, let alone how it works. So if we can be proactive in helping our clients to know how their benefits work and really take good care of them, that's the direction that I want to go, is to build not only a customer service, but a customer success team. And then that's just going to build the brand and build that word of mouth. And you can't do that without help.
This video is brought to you by the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. Guys, have you ever wanted to get around other professionals and the best of the best in the Medicare space if you're a Medicare agent? There's something to be said about networking and learning what other people are doing around the country, and they might just have some ideas that you may never have thought of before. It's also something to be said about learning from the best of the best. The most successful people in the insurance space collaborate, talk with others, and they have a mentality that we all are in this together and we share ideas and grow together. The 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit is the premier event for Medicare agents. It is highly affordable. It has a great reputation of being some of the best content you're going to find at any event. There's so many events out there that are nothing but pitch fests, or half of the speakers are employees for the agency that host the event, and there's not really any real agency builders, or very few that actually take the stage and speak. At the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit, you get nothing but the best of the best talent from all over the industry. It's not based on hierarchy. It's not based on anything like that. We all are coming together as Medicare agents to grow and learn and get better. You can get information on who the speakers are for this year's event and ticket prices down in the link of this description. We would love to see you at the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. Yeah. 100%. 100%. It's so vital. It's so key. It's so pivotal, because you can't do everything. You can't make the sales, take the customer service calls, help with claims. You can't do all those things, at the same time. And I think trying to wear 15 different hats as you grow it's unsustainable. So I think that's terrific advice. And I agree. We have the same philosophy here, in our office. Brian, I want to be respectful of your time. I do have one last question I wanted to ask you to kind of wrap up the conversation, and that is, you obviously, have had a heart to serve and kind of help agents come in, and the agents that have worked with you have all, but from, a lot, I would say majority of them at the very least, have been able to come in and plug into your systems, plug into your culture, plug into everything that you have going on at Glidden Group, and produce large amounts of business in a pretty short amount of time. And even if it's not them coming in and working in your office, maybe it's them, you mentoring them or kind of helping show them the way. You know your area so fantastically well in terms of like what works, what doesn't work there in Idaho and Coeur d'Alene. If there's anybody that's watching this and they're an agent, and maybe they're in Coeur d'Alene, but maybe they're just in Idaho in general, and they feel lost. They feel lost. They feel like they don't have any kind of guidance or anything like that. What is the best way for somebody to get in touch with you? Because you're probably one of the best equipped people to really kind of help launch somebody's career potentially, if they're willing to work hard and be coachable and, do their part, of course. What's the best way for somebody to get in touch with Brian Glidden if they're in in Idaho and looking for a home?
Oh, I guess probably just hit me up on social media. I'd be happy to share whatever I can. One awesome thing about this business is there's just so much opportunity that we can all be friends. We can
Yep.
all, I mean, we don't have to be against each other. We can all be for each other. There's so many great organizations and so many great agents and partners that we can all be like-minded and keep each other accountable, keep each other educated. So yeah, if there's anybody that wants to hear anything that I have to offer, just find me on Facebook or just call my office. That'd be awesome.
I love it.
Thank
I
you.
love it. Yeah, and Brian, thank you for doing this. Thank you for your time. I know how busy you are, and I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your nuggets of wisdom and kind of talking about your journey through growing your business. This was great. I really appreciate it, and we'll have to do it again soon. It was fun.
Thank you, Christian. I really appreciate all that you've done to help me. Thanks for your time.
Hey, absolutely, my friend. It's fun. It's fun to see your growth. Guys, if you liked this episode and you made it all the way to the end, first off, thank you for watching all the way to the end. I certainly appreciate that. And you know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll be back with another episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast shortly. Thanks, everybody.